The princess prayed every day for the kingdom's demise. When the enemy army broke through the gates, she knelt before the victors. All she wanted was a maid's job. After all, it was much happier than her previous, unbearable life as a princess. While other young maids envied the princess's luxurious dress, she revealed the hardships it entailed. First, the dress weighed at least 60 pounds, and the corset underneath was painful, like having 100 oxen pressing down on her, making it hard to breathe. Even worse, despite the immense physical torment, she had to maintain a poised smile every day. As the only princess of the royal family, she once thought she could be very happy. But when she was 10, her mother suddenly passed away. Her father, who should have mourned with her, immediately married a new queen. Under the guise of nurturing her, the stepmother relentlessly bullied Siana. She was in excruciating pain, but the stepmother said it was necessary to become an elegant princess. After being beaten into a coma several times, she sought help from her father, but the scumbag said, "Madam, you did well. Unqualified children should obediently accept corporal punishment." In such extreme despair, she began to wish her family would disappear. After all, the family affection she longed for had never appeared from the beginning. It seemed that heaven heard her prayers. On her 18th birthday, the enemy army captured the main city in half a day. Leading them was the so-called Bloody Prince, Hyler, who mercilessly slaughtered Siana's father and stepmother. Then, he walked up to her condescendingly. Siana knew her life might not be happy, but she didn't want to die just like that. So she knelt at Hyler's feet and pleaded, "Please spare my life. I'll do anything." But the man murmured, "Anything? Do you want to be my woman?" "No, I'm not pretty enough or graceful enough to be worthy of you. But I'm skilled in cleaning, and the tea I brew is fragrant and pleasant, so isn't it just perfect for me to be ordered around as a maid?" After hearing this, the other party laughed. "Interesting. Then, as you say, go to the palace and become an apprentice maid." And so, Siana survived this hell. What she didn't know was, although at the time, Hillard complained that his own face was as bland and round as a loaf of bread, he was secretly thinking that he seemed to have picked up a cute creature. Thus, every following day, he used his knight, Thor, to keep tabs on Siana's situation. Thor was curious. "Why are you so concerned about her?" "Maybe it's because of guilt. After all, I trampled her country and caused her to lose her home." Thor couldn't help but think to himself, "You've slashed so many people before. When have you ever cared about such things? Your Highness, please tell me the truth. After all, you're easily attracted to cute creatures." At this moment, 3 harmless little animals suddenly appeared from the side. Yes, this handsome and brutal man, known to the world as the bloodthirsty prince, is actually a person who loves animals to an unbearable degree. Oh no, I mean, an animal lover. At this moment, he suddenly spoke. "I see, that's why I want to take care of her more. I hope she can become an official maid, arranged in a suitable place. Your Highness, you should be aware that without recognized skills, one cannot become an official maid." "Saul, you're right. Then let's test her abilities and see if she qualifies to be an official maid." Meanwhile, Sienna was secretly delighted. As long as she moved, she could make soft and sweet bread, make dirty clothes look brand new, and even make the courtyard elegant and bright. These were things that she, once wearing heavy dresses, could never have imagined. So free, she wished she could be a maid forever. But at that moment, someone appeared in front of her. Hey, are you looking for more work again? Do you really want to show off in front of the senior maids that much? When it comes down to it, you're just a defeated nation's and you'll never become an official maid in your lifetime." Faced with the endless chatter of the red-haired little green tea, Siana thought to herself, "What's going on?" 2 maids followed behind, like long poop hanging from a goldfish's butt. She quickly realized, is this the so-called bullying of newcomers? Siana looked at the other party with curiosity, smiling. At that moment, a strong maid stood in front of her. "I say, that's enough. Stop looking for trouble. If you dare target her again, I'll report all your actions to the senior maid." Hearing this, the red-haired little green tea instantly broke into a cold sweat, but the next second, she became arrogant again. "Fine, you 2 poor souls without any backing, support each other then. Since you like cleaning so much, I'll let you clean to your heart's content." She then sped away from there. Looking at the bucket of water kicked over by the red-haired little green tea, the strong maid became exasperated. "You shouldn't always let people bully you. Learn to fight back." Siana finally realized that they were bullying her. After all, she had been bullied by her stepmother since childhood. In her eyes, the red-haired little green tea's tricks even seemed a bit cute. The strong maid then turned her head proudly. "By the way, my name is Choo Choo." She then told Siana that the red-haired girl indeed had some backing, as she was the daughter of a famous wealthy merchant in the empire. Even someone like her, who doesn't know how to do anything, can rise through the ranks with connections. Sooner or later, she'll become an apprentice maid. By the way, do you really have no connections at all? As a foreigner who managed to enter the palace as a maid, surely someone must have helped you. Siana indeed has connections, and that person is none other than the crown prince of the empire. The reason is probably because he saw his abandoned princess begging for mercy on the ground. He must have found me pitiful or ridiculous. So after calming down, Siana smiled and said, "Yes, I really have no connections at all." The next day, Chu was sighing over the food. "There's no meat again today." But Siana's eyes were shining. She didn't have to worry about eating gracefully or thinking about what conversation to start. She could just eat as much as she wanted, as if she were in heaven. Just then, the red-haired little green tea appeared. "Oh my," as expected from someone from a defeated country. "Even this garbage tastes good to you." Siana suddenly realized that the red-haired girl was bullying her. But was this all she could do? There should be more outrageous methods, right? Thinking of this, she looked at the red-haired girl with curiosity. Unbeknownst to her, this naive look made the other girl shiver. What the hell? She's not reacting as expected. She should be crying by now. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but imagine Siana's disdainful expression. "Oh wow, is that all you've got? You need more practice." Suddenly, Chu, who couldn't stand it any longer, intervened. "Enough already. Are you addicted to bullying a quiet, good kid? Hey, I let it slide the last few times, but now you're really pushing it by interfering in our matters. Just because you're tall doesn't mean you can ignore others. I'm the boss here. Boss my ass. All you do is bully the unresisting Siana." Just then, the door to the room opened. Walking in was the trainee head maid, Lip. She spoke coldly. "Are you arguing? I don't care if you pull each other's hair or throw punches, but at least don't cause trouble in front of me." Hearing this, the red-haired girl immediately put on a fawning smile. "We'll be good, head maid. We all understand, Madam Head Maid." Then Lip took out a letter and said that there was a sudden notice from above. It said that a tea party would be held in a few days and that some of you apprentice maids would serve at it. Serving others must strictly adhere to etiquette and there should be no mistakes. Therefore, even among the official maids, only the best can be selected. The excited maids eagerly asked, "What kind of guests will come to the tea party? Are they elegant noble ladies or beautiful princesses from neighboring countries?" But the next second, Lip told them that the guests were farm girls who supplied fruit to the royal family. Because the fruits supplied in recent years have been very sweet, the royal family organized this tea party to commend them. Lip said, "Since you have never been in contact with tea ceremonies, you will have to attend classes every morning before the tea party. Gather in the courtyard after getting up tomorrow." 10 minutes later, the red-haired girl angrily mopped the floor. "Why should I serve a group of lowly farm girls? But speaking of which, if they weren't farm girls, people like you wouldn't have a chance to fulfill your duties." And that's when Siana realized why the higher-ups would let apprentice maids serve them. Because the guests weren't nobles but the working class, so there was no need to send official maids. The next day, Lip was training everyone in tea ceremonies. Chuyu was extremely excited. "We are so lucky. We got a chance to serve others so soon. I must perform well." However, things did not go as she wished. Chuyu frequently made mistakes next. The red-haired green tea girl mercilessly mocked the muscle-bound fool, saying he was hopeless. She had never had tea before. What would she know about red tea? At most, she could only pour the beer that her father, the miner, would drink. Next, it was her turn to demonstrate a set of fluid movements. Even Lip couldn't help but praise her. After all, she had previously taken lessons from a famous etiquette teacher in the capital. At this moment, listening to the other maids praising her for being so impressive, not at all like someone learning tea ceremony for the first time, she was as happy as a 200-pound child. "Haha, maybe it's my inborn talent tilde tilde tilde. Oh ho 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 ho. I won't always be a little maid. I will be the head maid in the future." Little did she know that Siana, next to her, began analyzing her. If it really was her first time encountering the tea ceremony, her performance was indeed not bad. But unfortunately, her level was still at the apprentice maid stage. In the past, those around Siana were all carefully selected senior maids, who used elegant postures surpassing any noblewoman. They could silently and fluidly pour a cup of tea. As a former princess, Siana naturally mastered this skill too. However, she was no longer a princess now, so she didn't want to attract attention for no reason. When it was Shiana's turn to demonstrate, she showed some small flaws. First, the water stream was long and thin, and her movements were slightly awkward and clumsy. In the evening, Shiana and Chu sat together sharing bread. She noticed that usually cheerful and optimistic Chu seemed very strange today, remaining silent. Speaking of which, during the tea ceremony class today, Chu received the most scolding. And all along, Chochu was the one who always received praise. This was the first time Siana saw her looking so helpless. "Siana, I really envy you. Although I'm very angry, they are right. I've never had any real tea, nor do I have any insight. Everyone can probably tell that I'm the worst performing maid." Siana understood that since becoming a maid, The only one who had helped her from beginning to end was Chochu. Therefore, she suggested helping Chochu with special training every day before the tea party. After that, they were always the last two to leave the maid's kitchen. Sienna told Chochu to first heat the teapot and teacups, then brew the right amount of tea. Next, put in a spoonful of tea leaves, pour out the first brew, then let it steep again, and finally filter it to finish. After hundreds of instructions and training sessions, Chochu was able to do it very well. And during the practice, their relationship grew closer. This was also the first time Chochu opened up to Sienna. She said she came from a mining village, her father was a miner, and there were 13 children in her family, so her father had to work every day. She wanted to help support the family, so she applied to be a maid here. Sienna felt touched. Chochu, you are such a good daughter. I'm not particularly obedient. Isn't it only natural to let my younger siblings eat meat? What about you, Ziana? How did you end up here? Ziana didn't want to mention her past as a princess, so she just said, at that time, the crown prince felt sorry for me after I lost my country, so he brought me here. Is it His Highness, Prince Hillard? The one who's never lost a battle on the battlefield. Have you really met the crown prince? Oh, I really want to meet him too. I've heard that although he has a beautiful appearance, he is actually cruel and brutal. Is that true? Because my entire family was killed by him. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I didn't know something so terrible happened. It's okay. Those so-called family members of mine spent their whole lives torturing me, so it's fine now. Don't worry about it. Hearing this, Chochu was silent for a long time. Then her eyes became teary. Are you saying this to make me feel less guilty, Ziana? You are really kind. From that moment on, Chocho's attitude towards Ziana completely changed. When the red-haired mean girl still wanted to cause trouble, she always stood in front of Ziana and said, say one more bad thing about Ziana, and just like that, tie the little ginger's mouth to the pillar like cheese. Not only that, she always brings delicious food for Yana. I'm so tall now, it should be you, the little one, who eats it. You need to eat quickly and grow taller. That way, you won't be bullied by those people. Yana was very happy. This was her first time tasting such delicious candy. And so, the two of them chatted and laughed, and the atmosphere was harmonious. However, at that moment, Chochu was darkly thinking, that S of a crown prince, he actually killed the family of such a kind child. He's nothing but a BT murderer, pretending to be all dignified. I can't believe I was so excited to meet him before. Little did she know that Yana noticed everything. She seemed to be able to hear Chocho's thoughts. After all, it was really obvious. Although Yana felt a bit sorry that the crown prince was disliked, it felt really good to have someone on her side. Anyway, for someone like him, being cursed 10 times a day is too little. It's okay if I play dumb about this, right? Meanwhile, on the other side, Crown Prince Sheilad received a letter from the Baroness. He couldn't help but sneeze several times. Oh dear, is someone cursing me? Then he picked up an apple from Alpton and started eating. Saul found it a bit strange. Your Highness, with all due respect, no matter how delicious the apples are, no one ever invites peasant women into the palace just to reward them. That's because I want to use this tea party to test Yana's abilities. Immediately, he opened the envelope and found that the Baroness Alpton said she would attend the tea party with joy. Thus, Shillard began to formulate his own plan in his heart. On the day of the tea party, the maids who looked down on the farmer's wife surprisingly started to decorate earnestly. Chochu told Shiana that she heard the owner of the orchard. I heard that the owner of the orchard, Baroness Upton, would also come, so the atmosphere was very lively. They not only wanted to welcome the guests for the first time, but also wanted to perform well in front of the noble Baroness. The red-haired little green tea was also dressed very lavishly. Her hair accessories and makeup were different from the others. Chochu couldn't help but comment, this is too exaggerated. Little did she know that Sienna, who was also meticulously dressed, said, so you dressed up so beautifully to perform well in front of the Baroness, didn't you? Chocho's face instantly turned red. This and that, because it's my first time welcoming a guest as a maid. I wanted to look pretty in others' eyes. It would be even better if I could serve excellently. Chochu, don't worry. You will definitely do well. After all, you were taught by an excellent teacher. Yes, I am an excellent student too. Let's work hard together then. When the clock struck the hour, the tea party began. The main door opened, and after the guests entered, the maids would greet them together to show their welcome. When the guests arrived, the maids in the front would come out one by one to lead the guests to their respective places. But the red-haired little green tea at the very front kept stepping back, clearly wanting to serve the Baroness. Soon, Sienna noticed that not only her, but the entire party's atmosphere was strange. The maids who were supposed to serve behaved like nobles, while the guests, who were the main characters of the party, were timid. Because the maids thought the guests were peasant women, part of the working class, and easy to bully, they all ignored them. The carriages of the guests continue to arrive, and typically, the last to make an entrance is the star of the show. With her luxurious attire and extraordinary demeanor, it's clearly the long-awaited Lady Alpton, causing everyone's eyes to light up. Wow, she is stunning. The eager young lady hurriedly steps forward. My lady, welcome to the royal tea party. Then she signals with her eyes to the people behind her. I'll take care of this lady. Anyone who comes close is looking for trouble. At this moment, Sienna is also watching this noble lady, and suddenly, their gazes meet. The noble lady immediately gives her a reassuring smile, and for some reason, it makes Sienna's heart flutter. Just then, the maid beside her whispers, another one has arrived. Even if she's not the Baroness, I wouldn't want to serve such an ugly person. Hearing this, Sienna curiously looks over to see an old woman, somewhat ugly, hunched over, leaning on a cane. Seemingly overhearing the maid's unkind remarks, the old woman appears somewhat intimidated. Seeing that no one is serving her, Sienna strides forward directly. Welcome, madam. Welcome to the palace. Seeing Sienna's warm and gentle smile, the woman seemed to calm down a lot. Sienna understood that the most basic rule of the tea party was not to neglect any guest. Each table seated 3 to 4 guests, with dedicated maids serving them. Once all the guests were seated, the palace tea party officially began. Sienna brought the desserts to the respective tables. These were chocolates made from cocoa from Mount Kaana, which would melt slowly in the mouth. The women were instantly thrilled. This was the chocolate enjoyed by the princess and the royal lady. Taking a bite and letting it melt in their mouths, their taste buds were instantly conquered by the deliciousness, feeling as if they were lying in soft, fragrant cotton candy. At that moment, Sienna suddenly noticed that the elderly woman from earlier had made a mess all over her mouth. Seeing Sienna's gaze, the woman blushed deeply and awkwardly wanted to leave, but Sienna showed no sign of disdain. Instead, worried about her inconvenience, she handed her a handkerchief. Just as Sienna asked if she needed help wiping, the woman hurriedly said, "No, thank you," and turned around quickly to wipe herself. Seeing this, the other girls were initially stunned, but then they understood. "Maid, I also want a handkerchief. I'm really sorry, you used to serve tasteful ladies and princesses. Serving as country bumpkins must make you feel uneasy. Please don't say that. You are all noble guests to me. So, please enjoy the tea party to your heart's content." Immediately, Sienna enthusiastically poured them some tea, making the previously awkward atmosphere lively. At this moment, a girl asked, "Maid, the lady in the purple dress should be our Baroness, right? Sorry, we are not responsible for verifying identities. Don't you ladies know what the Baroness looks like? Actually, Baron Alpton just got married not long ago, and the Baroness hasn't been to the farm yet. So we haven't seen what she looks like. I heard the Baron fell in love with her at first sight. I was wondering how beautiful she must be. Now she really looks stunning." Sienna also looked at her, glittering from head to toe, clearly having seriously learned noble etiquette. That must be Baron Alpton's wife. Redhead should serve her well. If someone like her gets angry, the whole party will be ruined. However, the clueless redhead maid was still thinking to herself, it's understandable that everyone is staring here. After all, the person in front of me is not comparable to other guests. Haha, after all, I'm the daughter of a diamond merchant. The person I serve should be like this, not those lowly village women. But the next second, she heard the noblewoman in front of her say, "How long are you going to ignore me? Your arrogant greeting and the way you looked at me disdainfully, even when serving dessert you were so clumsy, and now you can't even pour tea properly. How long must I tolerate your rude behavior?" The redhead maid was terrified. She indeed had been a bit slack. So she decided to pour the tea for the lady again, but because of the nervousness, her whole hand was trembling uncontrollably, and she spilled the tea. This is the most basic thing. The palace maid's skills are surprisingly poor. A maid who doesn't do her job properly will be punished, like being beaten all night or having her tongue cut out, so she won't make mistakes again. What kind of punishment do you want? Just as the red-haired girl was too scared to react, Sienna quickly stepped forward. "Sorry, madam, our skills are lacking, so we couldn't meet your expectations. But as a maid, I will help you adjust your mood." "Okay, I understand. But if you can't satisfy me, you will take the anger and punishment she deserves." Sienna responded respectfully, "Of course, madam." And at that moment, she suddenly remembered her past. Her malicious stepmother smiled, "Your Majesty, it's been a long time since we've had tea from Princess Lake." Even her father's gaze was like a predator eyeing its prey. Yes, Sienna, the lake tea. For Sienna at that time, there was no room for any mistakes. This was a matter of life and death, so how could she possibly mess up? After preparing the tea perfectly, she introduced it, "Madam, the tea prepared for this tea party is Earl Grey from Mount Ingrid. Please enjoy. If the strength is not to your taste, please let me know." All with a smooth and flowing motion. With a seamless series of movements, even the previously critical woman nodded with a smile. However, taste is subjective. No matter how good the tea or how well it's brewed, if it doesn't suit the lady's taste, it's all over. But luckily, after taking a sip, the lady showed a smile of approval. It's really good. Sienna was very happy. She really did it. And so, the tea party full of tension and excitement finally ended smoothly. As the ladies were leaving, everyone was smiling and saying goodbye. Suddenly, the ladies at Sienna's table came forward. We really appreciate it, madam. Thanks to you, we could enjoy the party without worries. At that moment, Sienna felt all her fatigue evaporate. Suddenly, Sienna noticed that an old woman standing at the back seemed to want to say something. So, she happily stepped forward. Madam, do you have something to say? Yes, to be honest, I hesitated for a long time. As you saw, my appearance isn't very appealing. Previously, I was very afraid of hearing unpleasant remarks in the palace, but it was only after meeting you that I realized I was worrying too much. You are like a shining little sun, noticing all my needs. I will never forget today for the rest of my life. You have given me such a memory. I am really grateful to you, madam. Shiana understands that since ancient times, as a maid, she should never reveal her true feelings in front of guests. Displaying utmost seriousness is considered a virtue. But now, she's really happy and finds it hard to hide her emotions. Little did she know that this scene was being observed by the lady in purple hiding nearby, who couldn't help but smile. Back in the maid's room, two shy followers of red-haired Xiaolu Cha came forward and said, Shiana, you were amazing earlier. Your composed demeanor was so cool. Can you teach us? However, these words were overheard by red-haired Xiaolu Cha, who stood up furiously and exclaimed, Hey, are you too serious? Just because she's good at serving tea, you grovel to someone from a defeated country? Ridiculous. Jenny, don't you have any shame? You were so well behaved during the tea party, I thought you knew shame. Because you angered the Baroness, the party was nearly ruined. It was Shiana who cleaned up your mess. Not only did you not apologize, but you also made a scene. How can you act like a captain like this? This infuriated red-haired Xiaolu Cha even more. You bunch of bumpkins. Just huddle together for warmth. Meanwhile, at another location, in the Crown Prince's palace, Saul standing at the door notices that Lady Alperton is approaching. Madam, you always come to His Highness the Crown Prince's room like this. It really puts me in a difficult position. Ah, your fierce look is quite cute, but it's a pity that my heart belongs only to His Highness the Crown Prince. Please give up on this idea. He's just a pervert who looks decent on the outside but only thinks about the soft souls of squirrels. This really angered the other party. Saul quickly apologized. Sorry, Your Highness, I got carried away. Oh, it's fine, go on. I find your assessment of me quite interesting. Not angry all. With that, he strode into the room. He started cuddling his cute little pet. Saul thought to himself, His Highness looks quite like Princess Desdemona in this way. It turned out that the Crown Prince had used a magic stone, more expensive than a mansion, to disguise himself as a woman. This stone could change a person's body for half a day. He then took off his luxurious dress and jumped into the bathtub. He began bathing unabashedly under Saul's gaze. Your Highness, how did it go today? Did Miss Sienna meet your expectations? I think she's quite good, exceeded my expectations. A few months ago, she was still a princess. Learning the etiquette of a maid shouldn't be easy. Thinking of this, he recalled the details of the day. Sienna's arm position, the way she held the teapot, everything was so perfect, as if it was a reenactment of the etiquette book. Moreover, she had an irresistible grace in her maid uniform. Thinking of this, Halad smiled. I have thoroughly tested her abilities. So, 3 days later, just as Sienna was about to rest, the head maid suddenly called her. Shiana, Lady Alperton has come to see you. She has something to discuss. So, Shiana knocked on that room's door. Actually, she was also a bit apprehensive. I should have treated her well during the tea party. Why is she coming to see me now? Did I make some mistake? Right after, she saw Lady Alperton with her back towards her. My lady, I am sorry for coming to see you suddenly. Did I startle you? But, anyway, I must properly greet you this time. I am Mark Delina. I want to reintroduce myself to Shiana, the lady who served me at the tea party. I have brought some modest gifts to convey my feelings. Only then did Shiana realize that this person was indeed Lady Alperton. She had previously assumed based on appearance that the lady in purple was Lady Alperton, which was really embarrassing. Thinking this, she hurriedly apologized to her. No, my lady, it was I who concealed my identity. Actually, when I received the invitation to the royal tea party, Lady Alperton was very apprehensive. Due to her appearance, she had been living a secluded life. She was afraid of being pointed at and also afraid of being mocked by the peasant women. However, she soon received another letter from the royal family. It read, Please conceal your identity during the tea party. The Baroness understood that this was a good opportunity, and that probably no one would pay attention to her then. That day, she noticed that although Shiana was modestly dressed and unadorned, she possessed an undeniable aura. Thus, she was greatly inspired by Shiana. The day after the tea party ended, she began to study etiquette, which is why she wanted to formally greet Shiana. At this moment, she slightly bowed to Shiana and said, "Thank you, Madam Servant." Shiana understood that no baroness would ever greet a mere servant in such a manner. Although the baroness did not master her balance well, and her movements were somewhat clumsy, Shiana could still feel her radiant heart. Therefore, Shiana accepted the lady's sentiment with respect. Happily accepting the lady's kindness, Shiana shared the apples with the other servants when she returned. Everyone was extremely excited, as they usually had to endure hard bread after a day's hard labor, while the baroness, like a goddess, brought them delicious and sweet apples. Therefore, she became the eternal goddess of the servants. Yet, a new question lingered in Shiana's mind. Who exactly was that noblewoman? She has silver hair and purple eyes like the crown prince. She must be a princess of the royal family. Damn it, she came to the maid training area to play pranks. Does this idiot have no friends? At this moment, the head maid's words interrupted her thoughts. Everyone, listen up. Starting today, Shiana is promoted from a trainee maid to a full maid. Tomorrow at dawn, you will go to the Ruby Palace. You will serve Princess Alice there. Red-haired brat. Shiana clearly came last and has a lowly background, yet she became a full maid before me. Thinking of this, she ran out feeling wronged, wanting to find her father. At night, Shiana lay in bed recalling the events of the past few days when suddenly Chochu walked in. Shiana, you're still awake, right? This is a gift to commemorate you becoming an official maid. Since you're leaving soon, I hurriedly bought this for you. I hope you like it. Chofun knows that all maids like to dress up, so she hopes Shiana won't neglect herself. She specially asked the shopkeeper to pick the most beautiful and expensive one. Shiana suddenly thought that when she was an apprentice maid, she earned very little, yet she bought me such an expensive hair accessory. This might have been bought with Chofun's own savings. Thinking of this, Shiana couldn't help but shed tears. She threw herself into Chofun's arms, already unable to speak through her sobs. Chofun, thank you. It's really beautiful. I love it. Silly girl, no need to thank me. We are good friends, after all. Shiana, don't cry. Go back to sleep. A beautiful future awaits you. Meanwhile, in the maid's room, head maid Lip asked curiously, doesn't Princess Alice have a personal maid? Why would she need Shiana? Another maid replied, I am her personal maid. You don't understand. Instead of being the princess's personal maid, I chose to do chores here. Only those who have experienced it know that doing chores is much better than serving her. At least in this empire, absolutely no one can endure that demon. The notorious demon princess. But in the eyes of the young maid, she was a cute baby who loved to act spoiled. While other maids were desperately trying to escape, she directly transformed the disheveled princess into the most elegant princess of the empire, because only she truly cared for her as a 5-year-old child. It turned out that on this day, Shiana was promoted to an official maid, and went to serve in Princess Aris's palace. On the carriage, the personal maid told her that Princess Aris's birth mother was an exotic dancer who the emperor fell in love with at first sight. Thus, His Majesty gifted her a palace with a garden, which is now the Ruby Palace where Princess Aris resides. But when Shiana arrived there, she found the place was as creepy as a haunted house, completely empty with not a single maid in sight. Just then, a maid beside her suddenly started screaming wildly and then fainted uncontrollably. Shiana followed her gaze, and saw a giant spider appearing before her, held by none other than the legendary Princess Aris. What? Why don't you have any reaction at all? It's really boring. Sorry, Your Highness. If you need, I will show the reaction you want. Immediately, under the bewildered gaze of Alice, Shiana cleared her throat and then started a heart-wrenching ghostly wail. The scream lasted for a full 2.5 minutes. Shiana bent down. Your Highness, may I greet you now? Maid Shiana salutes you. Princess Alice was very puzzled. Impossible. How can someone not be afraid of me in this state? Facing this dirty palace and such a wretched me, yet can still show such a warm smile, it must be insincere. So she said coldly, boring, get out. I hate maids the most. Then she slammed the door shut. At this moment, the unconscious maid suddenly woke up. She excitedly grabbed Shiana's hand and said, I have long wanted to leave this horrible place. It's just a pity that there has been no maid to serve, so I couldn't leave. But now, I really appreciate you helping me escape. It's okay, but you have to tell me how to manage here. It's no big deal, just take good care of the princess. After all, here, it's only you and that little devil. In the next second, the castle was left without a single figure. Shiana collapsed instantly. Damn it, no one to teach me. The master hates me. I'm doomed. But since she's already here, Sienna decides to make herself at home. She picks up a broom and starts to clean. After a whole afternoon of work, the filthy place starts to look clean. At this moment, Princess Aris suddenly appears. "Hey, maid, all this work you're doing is useless." Little did she know, Sienna approached her with a bright smile like a little sun. "Your Highness, do you have any orders? Here we go again. She really treats me like a princess. No one has ever treated me like this before. Stop pretending to be kind, you'll definitely run away the first chance you get." Meanwhile, in the Crown Prince's palace, Hillard is thinking while taking a bath. Although he transferred Sienna to the Ruby Palace, when he thinks about it carefully, he still wishes to have Sienna called to his palace. Crown Prince Hillard gazes at the shimmering water's surface. He suddenly recalls that day. Sienna was so radiant and dazzling. Her sincere, sunny smile seemed to heal everything. Thinking of this, he can't help but relax. Her smiling face is really adorable. After all, the Ruby Palace is very close to here. He can't wait to see her soon. The little princess has never had a full meal since she was born, while the maid enjoys steak and wine every day. This strategy completely broke the princess's defenses, so she had no choice but to wolf down the nutritious but unpalatable vegetable salad. The little maid laughed, the reverse psychology worked. This way, her picky eating habit was corrected. Next up was the cleaning issue. "Princess, let's have a fun bath together." "I don't want to, I hate touching water. But if you don't bathe, bugs that like dirty things will grow on your body, and those bugs will poop a lot on you. Ah, hurry, help me bathe." And so, Princess Aris comfortably lay in the bathtub. She found that the sponge didn't hurt her skin at all, and the foam didn't sting her eyes, and the rosemary smelled really nice. Her mood was more pleasant than ever. Following this, under the coercion and bribery of Shiana, she successfully brushed her teeth. For the first time, she dried her wet hair. Princess Aris discovered that ever since this annoying maid arrived, everything changed. She even planted beautiful flowers in this barren land. She said that when the flowers bloomed, she would make a beautiful wreath for the princess. Princess Aris couldn't understand why this maid, who had lowly blood and was abandoned by the emperor, treated her like a real princess. How could I make her show her true colors? Suddenly, she noticed that Sienna had dropped her hair clip on the ground. So she deliberately mocked the humming Sienna, saying, "What are you smiling about? It's quite annoying." Sienna, who was originally smiling, froze for a moment when she turned around, because the hair clip that Choo Choo gave her was now on Princess Aris's head. This was the most precious gift Sienna had ever received in her life, so she immediately said, "Princess, I'm sorry, but the hair accessory you're wearing is mine. Please return it to me." But she heard the other party say, "This is my palace." Suddenly, Princess Aris noticed that the usually good-tempered Sienna was now extremely serious. At this moment, she was unusually serious but still haughtily shouted, "If you want it back so badly, then come and get it." She thought Sienna definitely couldn't catch her. After all these years, no maid had ever been able to catch her. But the next second, when she turned her head, she saw Sienna catching up, as fast as an electric motor. Suddenly, Princess Alice found herself at a dead end, and Sienna was closing in. "Your Highness, it's not right to joke around with someone else's belongings. Please give it back to me." Princess Alice felt like she had fallen into an ice cave. She used to say she would do her best to serve me as her master, but in the end, she was just like the other maids, all talk and no action. So, she said, "No," while throwing the hairpin into the pool. Then she heard a splash as Sienna jumped into the pool. Once, Princess Alice wasn't this willful. When her mother passed away, a maid held her and promised to take good care of her. Alice felt incredibly happy, thinking she was as warm as her mother. But later, that maid was arrested. It was then that Alice realized the maid had seen she had no one to protect her and had been selling things from the Ruby Palace without any scruples. Alice wanted to pretend nothing had happened. Even if she continued to steal and sell things, she would turn a blind eye. But in the afternoon, the maid packed up and prepared to leave. She looked at Alice's bewildered eyes and her uneasy little hands tugging at her dress and still said those hurtful words, "Since I've been found out, there's nothing more to say. You were only of use to me because of that. Otherwise, who do you think would be willing to serve a useless person like you?" In the following period, new maids kept coming, but they always left with a cold expression in the end. The words they spoke without any scruples were something Aris would never forget in her lifetime. "Even if she's of lowly J bloodline, she shouldn't be treated like this. I didn't expect to gain any benefits from working here. This princess is such trash." Among those who left, Aris suddenly saw Sienna. Even she said, "I have grown tired of serving the princess." At that moment, Aris abruptly woke up from her bed, startled. She realized that everyone would leave her, and Sienna would be no exception. She would surely pack her bags in the middle of the night and leave without a sound. So, she was truly alone now. Aris felt that instead of suffering deeper hurt in the future, it was better to be abandoned from the start. But at that moment, someone suddenly pushed the door open. "Oh, princess, you're up so early today. Didn't sleep well? You can sleep a little longer if you're too tired. Being too tired means having no appetite, and it's not good for digestion. Aris suddenly felt a lump in her throat, unable to say a word. Even though she had done such excessive things, Sienna had not left her and was still as gentle as ever. Thinking of this, she suddenly hugged Sienna tightly. I'm really sorry. I know I'm really annoying, so whether you scold me or hit me, please forgive me. Your Highness, you're not annoying at all. Although yesterday's incident hurt me, I swam around in the water and couldn't find it back, but I know, sometimes children just do some foolish things. Moreover, Your Highness sincerely apologized to me, so it's all okay now. Sobs have thought it through now. There's a lot to be done in the Ruby Palace, but there's only you as a maid, and I am also a useless royal. From now on, I will help you. I won't be picky with food anymore. I will share all the delicious food with you. I'll be a good child. So, Shiana, can you stay here forever? Shiana was touched. Her Highness is really adorable. She's a very stubborn but honest, tearful yet lovable little girl. Of course, Your Highness. Since then, Aris never played any annoying pranks again. Under Shiana's guidance, she learned to water the flower beds. Even with her small stature, she would try hard to lift large buckets just to help Shiana with the cleaning work. However, for a child, there are more important things to do than cleaning and washing, and that is to learn. So Shiana went to apply for paper and pens, intending to personally teach Her Highness. Little did they know, the people at the Royal Library said that the maids of the Ruby Palace have used Her Highness as an excuse to take high-end supplies for sale more than once or twice. If you really need supplies, then bring a confirmation letter from another royal family member. This completely frustrated Sienna. After all, no other royals could write such a thing for themselves. Just then, Aris suddenly spoke up. There's still a way. Maybe I'll talk to the Crown Prince. So, full of hope, Sienna sent a letter to the Crown Prince. Little did she know, not even 2.5 minutes had passed, when Crown Prince Hyler appeared here like a cheerful, sunny boy. What are you doing here, big brother? You could have just sent the confirmation letter. Why come in person? You're not here to take my Sienna away, are you? My dear sister needs help. Of course I came to see in person. And since there's a guest, shouldn't you offer your brother a cup of tea? Sienna felt awkward because the Ruby Palace had no tea to offer. Don't worry. I brought some Darjeeling tea from Mount Asti. Will this do? So, Sienna began to entertain. But to her dismay, Prince Hyler kept blinking his big eyes, his gaze never leaving her. Not bad, the tea Sienna made tastes great, still as excellent as ever. By the way, Aris, it was I who asked Sienna to come to the palace as a maid. What? You actually know my Sienna? I'm telling you, you better not take her away, you can't. Hyler just smiled and did not reply, but instead asked, Aris, didn't you know that I know Sienna? Has she ever mentioned me to you? Not a single mention. Sienna is mine, you better scram, kid. At this moment, Thor reminded Hillard, Your Highness, it's time for the council meeting. You should go. Hillard sighed and then handed the confirmation letter to Aris. Thank you, Brother Zichi, she said. As a return, what should I give you? Hillard patted Shiana on the shoulder and said, I drank such excellent tea, nothing else is needed. And thank you, Shiana. You made my day very pleasant. Ah, what are you two doing? Stupid brother, get out. Don't touch other people's maids. Get out. After Hillard left, Shiana said, I didn't expect the princess and His Highness to have such a good relationship. Aris replied, how could that be? Who would have a good relationship with someone who touches other people's maids? Shiana, you might not know this is just a deal. My brother gave me the confirmation letter, and I owe him a favor. We are all competitors for the throne. Why would he help me for free? In this country, before a new prince ascends to the throne, countless people will be replaced. This means,